tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Sanghaṃ Namasami. Oh, so lots of good energy in the room. This is often a time when people are sleepy, but I think today there's a lot of very good energy here, having generated so much generosity and goodness, and that's being also generated and multiplied really by our dear Ajahns, who have just done such an amazing job here in Washington State of generating community, and not just here actually, but I think worldwide online community, and connecting all kinds of monastics together and lay communities from different parts of the world together, and having this beautiful vision to create a physical space that people can come to regularly and practice together and be together and benefit each other and learn from each other and support each other. So it's this very beautiful and inspiring vision that is coming into reality. And I really respect the dynamism and the energy and the creativity of these two venerables. It's inspiring and awesome, and it makes me feel like an old lady. And I'm okay with that. So one of the great strengths of this community is communication. How there's so much room given for people to ask questions and to get to know each other, and then to meet online or in person, and then a lot of different angles of sharing the Dhamma. So many different teachers who get to speak through the Clear Mountain Monastery channels, let's say, and this is a very important strength. And I think when I was in my earlier years of monastic training, we were asked to be more silent, watch your mind and watch your tongue, kind of thing. And so there wasn't a lot of invitation to speak or discuss or explore things. And there was a lot of very good Dhamma, but the guidance was you just listen and receive and practice, and don't waste your energy in talking. And of course I'm not that good. I did, of course, but anyway, that was the sort of the instruction. And it feels like this community is obviously not about idle chatter, but it is about Dhamma communications, and it's a real strength of this community. And I've recently been exploring the Bojjhaṅga Paritta. So the Bojjhaṅga Paritta is a protection chant. So we did some parittas just earlier today. So it's a protection chant that is invoking the qualities of the awakening factors. And the awakening factors are qualities that I really love to explore and remind people of. They're very accessible. So there's sati, presence, mindfulness, which we can all access at any moment. Anytime we're interested, then there is sati. There's clarity, brightness, awareness, presence. And Dhamma Vijaya, to be curious and investigative, be interested and curious about what's going on. Virya, to stay with what's happening, not to just touch into it and move on, but to stay with your practice, your investigation, your curiosity. And then piti is a quality of joy that can arise when we're aligned with what is true. And then passaddhi is a calming factor. So this is about calming when there's too much energy. Samadhi is a collectedness of mind. And upekkha is equanimity, or being okay with things as they are. So these 7 factors of awakening are recited in the Bojjhaṅga, and it's also there are these 3 suttas are referenced. And it's a little bit mysterious because the suttas are referencing these arahants, so these fully enlightened beings. So Venerable Mahamoggallana, who was the Buddha's chief disciple, who had this amazing ability of psychic powers and is like incredible human being who's sick and afflicted with an illness. And then the Buddha recognizes he's unwell and then recites these 7 awakening factors to Mahamoggallana, and he gets better. So probably Mahamoggallana knew about those 7 factors, they're factors of awakening, and he's fully awakened. But just the reciting of these factors to him, these qualities, 7 qualities, he got better. And then there's Venerable Mahakassapa, who's a great ascetic and also fully enlightened, and he also gets very sick. And then the Buddha recognizes he's sick and checks in on him, and then again tells him these 7 awakening factors, and then Venerable Mahakassapa gets better. So it's like, oh, how does that work? And then there's a story of the Buddha himself being really, really sick, afflicted in pain, and Venerable Chunda comes to him, and the Buddha says, I'm sick and afflicted, I'm in pain. Recite to me those 7 factors of awakening. So he's asking, he obviously knows what they are. He's asking Venerable Chunda to recite these factors, and so Venerable Chunda recites these 7 factors of awakening, and the Buddha gets better. So it's kind of a bit of a mystery, isn't it? But there's something in the articulation, not just thinking about them, not just wishing somebody would talk about them, but actually saying them, actually verbalizing what is important, that starts to create a transformation. And how that happens, I don't know. But as I'm here witnessing this whole rather marvelous process here, where does it start? It starts with an intention and an aspiration, and then communication. Very skilled communication with beautiful intent, and then an encouragement for others also to communicate and not just randomly chat, but to talk about what matters, what's really important, to talk about the Dhamma and the potential to awaken, and to talk about joy and to talk about community and all of these things. That it just brings up this joy and well-being and sense of connection. So the articulation. And I know often I hear people say, maybe at the end of something they say, oh, I've been waiting the whole time for such and such to happen, or for you to chant such and such, and it's like, well, why didn't you just mention it? We could have done that days ago. But so to say what's important to you, to articulate what's really important and what matters, because when we put it out there, then people can respond, the universe can respond. But if we're just quietly thinking, wishing for something to happen, how's it ever going to get anywhere? So to not be shy, to speak words of truth. And sometimes, we might want to say something to somebody that's, maybe we feel a bit embarrassed to say it, and but we want to say something that's beneficial, something good. No, I'm not just talking about difficult feedback, but something good, and then we're a bit shy, or maybe I'll just think it, I won't say it. And say it. People need to hear. We need to hear those good things. We need to get confident in saying what matters to us and receiving what matters to us. So, silence is also important, actually. To be able to be together in silence is also very, very precious. And that's something I sought out for a long time, going to Quaker meeting groups and various different Buddhist groups, just to be able to sit in silence with other people is also very profound. And in some ways a lot can be communicated in that silence too, when it's a shared, peaceful intention. And we live in a time right now in the world that's very turbulent and chaotic, and there's a lot of unknowns. And then in the news feed, we're fed all of these horror stories all the time, and so we can easily, the mind can shrink and just get very small and very afraid. And so it's really important, like a day like today, when all of these people are gathered, and then more people online, and probably, you might have friends who were kind of interested but weren't able to make it or whatever, but there's this generating a field of goodness together through many small acts, many small things. So occasionally there are people who can do one really big thing, but many small things, many small gestures, small acts of generosity, small, little things, putting out the chairs, whatever it may be, is sweeping up at the end of the day, and all of these things are generating goodness. And so in a world that's very turbulent and troubled right now, what we're doing together today is generating goodness, generating peace, generating friendship, kindness, safety. It's very, very beautiful. And, what we see on the news is happening, but it's a tiny percentage of what is happening. So what each of us does with our life also matters. So don't allow yourself to be shrunk, to be diminished by what you see in the media. So the Buddha, in those awakening factors, he's pointing us to our highest potential, this beautiful potential to be fully awake. And in awakenness, there is an understanding of interconnection, that we're part of everything, that there is no separate something. Everything is leaning on everything else. This is the way of things. So what we do with this moment matters. And we might think, but that's for other people, that all of those really impressive people on the stage, okay, that's okay for them, but it doesn't really matter about me. But no, we're all the same, actually. We all have the same potential, and what we do with our body, speech and mind makes a difference. And even if it's only a little something, even if we can only do a little bit, you might look at the monks here and think, wow, they're so dynamic and they're so amazing, but I can't really do that, And it's like, no, well, you're not meant to do that. They're doing that. You're meant to do what you can do. We each have a part to play in this world. So don't allow yourself to be diminished or shrunken by what you see on the news, or what somebody who isn't able to love fully tells you about yourself, or by your own superego that nags away and criticizes and tells you all the things that are wrong. That's Mara. So not to allow yourself to believe that, but to listen to the guidance of the Buddha that is guiding us back to our true nature, which is open, free, unentangled, interconnected. And if we develop our meditation, so we chanted the Metta Sutta as part of the Parittas, and in the Metta Sutta learning how to allow the mind to open in metta, so allowing the citta, your heart and mind, to open in metta, and to open without limits, not keeping it bound, not keeping it in, not judging, but just allowing it to unfurl, to open and radiate. And it's the potential of the mind is limitless. And I don't mean for thoughts and lots of papancha, proliferation, but in terms of its capacity, it's vast. Its radiance can be vast. And so we've got to start from where we are, with maybe a little flickering candle in our heart, and take care of that. Generate kindness, generate presence, generate joy, true joy, not like happy, but a true joy that's connected with what is true in the world, in ourselves. So the Buddha is just again and again pointing us back to our true and highest potential. And then as monastics, we're here to work on that ourselves. We're all still working on it, I believe. And to mirror that back to you, so you don't forget that your true nature is clear, bright, open, compassionate, discerning, All of these qualities are natural qualities, but we need to rediscover them. We need to clear away all of the clutter, all of the rubbish, all of the old stories, and then we find, through our meditation practice and our practice of generosity and of community, good friendship, then we can find again our true nature. So that's my invitation to you today, to not forget and to do everything you can to find it and to care for it and to share it for your benefit and for the benefit of all beings.
หันธรรมยัง